Where do I start? Oh, yeah.
If you don't know where you start.
Yeah, tell me about it. So my name is Kyle Sullivan. I am the director of a short film called Garden of the Gods, a horrific clerical error that has resulted in bloodshed. And I've got Jen Mishalanie. Is that how am I pronouncing your last name right?
Yes, that's correct.
Jen Miller Mishalanie with me. She was our production designer for the short film and absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling us exactly who you are and what you do? Have you always been doing production design, or are you involved in production at other levels? Who are you?
So I started in film about 3 years ago. I actually own a local antique store, and a gentleman came into the store looking for props for a show that he was working on. And when he came back to pick up the things that he had picked out, he asked me to come on set with him that afternoon. And that was a little show that was done in Hueytown called Trading Paint with John Travolta. And that was the very first time I was ever on set, and terrified because he was there. And I just kind of grew from there. I started with doing some set decorating, and then into props, and from there doing actual production design. So pretty much anything in the art department I can handle.
So your first film was Trading Paint? Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
That's a hell of a first job.
Yes. It was wild.
So I guess it's been a couple of years. It's been 3 or 4 years for you doing this kind of work. Trading Paint was a while ago, I think.
Yes, 2017 was. Okay. I believe it was August.
Okay, and you got to meet Mr. Travolta and Miss Shania Twain.
Yes, met both of them. John is very down to earth, super cool guy, nice to everybody. Shania was there. She's different.
She was sure easy on the eyes.
Yes.
So, what was the most difficult thing about that shoot, being a first job? I'm sure everything was like crazy and difficult, but like, was there something that really stood out? Because I'd be scared to death. I'm not sure I'd be willing to consider a career after a production of that scale, you know?
Really the biggest thing for me was reining in the fangirl, because all my life, if I ever got to meet a celebrity, that's who I want to meet. And then that literally is the first person that I meet. And it was difficult, because the first time I was face to face with him, I wanted to crawl under a counter so that nobody could see that I was so excited. And he fussed at me for calling him Mr. Travolta. And I explained that if I didn't use my manners, my grandma would smack me in the back of the head. So he accepted whatever I wanted to call him at that point.
He's homesteaded in the South. He understands.
Yes.
Well, I have a series of questions for you, about 5 or 6 of them, and that it should be a short affair.
Okay.
So let me start with our first question. I want to start with asking you about not your favorite movie, but the movie you've clocked in the most time watching, either as a child or as an adult. What movie is that?
It actually goes hand in hand with the Travolta thing. I was 2 years old, and there was a drive-in theater about 5 minutes from my grandmother's house. And every time anybody was going, I got in the car. And we watched Grease at least 1,000 times. Probably more for my entire life. I've clocked a lot of hours with that one.
Grease. So you are a Travolta fangirl.
Very much so. from a very young age.
All right. Did you have a movie like in like your early childhood that was different? Like Grease is fun, but it's also, there's some adult themes going on in there.
Lots of them, yes. Charlotte's Web, I think, was my favorite childhood movie. Not the one with Dakota Fanning. The original.
The original.
Yes, the original.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What else have I got for you? Okay, let's talk about Garden of the Gods.
Okay.
What was the most challenging moment during the shoot? Was there something there that you got to do that you hadn't done before? And no pressure if everything was easy. I'm just curious.
Set-wise, it was all pretty cool. I didn't really have any issues doing the sets. Those were fairly easy. I have a very weird sense of vision when it comes to I can walk in and see how it should be. So it comes naturally. The very most difficult thing that I had to do was stay in that corner with you while they were building the wall.
You don't like small spaces.
I do not like small spaces. That was my hardest night.
You and Daniel's character are both feeling the claustrophobia of it.
Yes.
What was that interesting or difficult or strange for you that we built the wall out of actual cinder blocks? We had Stephen Taylor actually come in as a mason and lay the blocks while we were shooting, and like that visceralness and having that kind of material on set. What was that like?
It was very awesome to be able to have the real pieces there, and not have it to look like it, but to have it actually be it. That makes all the difference in the world. Watching the trailer that you did and seeing all the pictures that we have, it just looks amazing. And I feel like if we had used anything else, it wouldn't have that level that it has. So
yeah.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, you that texture, you can't get that, accidentally in like the scraping sounds. All the soundscapes of using the cinder blocks are going to be like for this little short film. It'll be a lot like that Jaws, dun dun dun. Like when you hear the sound of scraping, you know that terror is nearby.
Right.
Well, I guess it wasn't difficult. We planned a lot with the blocks, and it took us 2 days to do that last scene with the blocks and everything. But
that was a lot of work, though.
It was a lot of work.
A lot of work.
What was your favorite shoot day for Garden of the Gods?
I think my favorite shoot day was the party day, because there were so many moving pieces. I enjoy a challenge, so that's a bigger step for me than doing the wall. Having everybody moving at the same time and at the same existence, basically, and doing it right every time. So that really made a difference in how that scene looked. I love decorating your yard. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, it looked great too. And the pictures just turned out phenomenal with all the Chinese lanterns and the lights draping in the background. It just looked like such a place. And, so far everyone's favorite day has been the party scene. And I think that has something to do with when you walk into a set and it's decorated like a big place and the whole place is decorated and you get extras. I think like you get to be in the movie in a sense. And like, that's maybe why we all do this, I guess. Right.
It's a different energy. When you have all the lights and all the color and all the extra people, it does bring a different energy and a different life to the set. When not to downplay anything, but when you have just the crew and one or two cast members, it's a little more laid back. But everything has to be a little more meticulous. And then when you have the big scenes like that with everybody, there's a little more forgiveness if things aren't exactly perfect, because there's so many different things going on, and it just, like I said, it's a different level of energy when you have that going on.
Yeah, and despite that, having the natural allowance of that wiggle room, the extras were fantastic. Like, we didn't have any real issues for the party scene or the block wall. Like, this thing should have failed, and it didn't. And that's like, that's down to all of you guys, keeping the machine well oiled and ran the correct way.
Well, you were the captain, so that falls on you.
The captain's just a guy with a hat.
And you wear a hat well, sir.
Thanks. Let's see. So I know that, and I'm hearing this from everybody, that production's slammed to a halt. Coronavirus, COVID-19 stuff. Everyone's sort of trapped in their houses a little bit, going stir crazy, and that's doubly true for people working in production. Despite that, I wanted to ask if you had anything coming up, or if you had anything coming up, past tense, that's been on pause. And the second part of that question is there like a particular genre of production or a genre of story that you are most interested in working on, as far as like a production design aspect?
So the first part of your question, I had about 4 productions that were ready to get started when everything kind of halted. A couple of them are very local, very small, and we'll be working on them as soon as we can get back to it. One of them is a bit larger, still a local, and it is scheduled currently for pre-production starting in August. So I do have a light at the end of the tunnel for when I will be back on set. It's going to be crazy when everybody starts trying to do everything at the same time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how people land to get everything done.
Are the pre-productions on these shows, are they taking into consideration like, social distancing and quarantining and stuff like that? I'm hearing some crazy stories about people trying to quarantine their cast and crew, like for 2 weeks before they start shooting. And I just think I guess you have to do something like that, but that sounds crazy. Are you guys taking precautions or at least discussing?
I haven't been in that part of the discussion yet. I don't know if the director and the producers have been. I'm supposed to get mood boards today, so we'll see what those look like and kind of what the schedule's really looking like. Honestly, if we are doing a 2-week quarantine, I'm not looking forward to it, but I won't argue either. Because at this point, we just have to do what we have to do. I'm sure bringing out the new things is beginning to get slim as far as Hollywood is concerned. So it'll be interesting to see how things go.
I think it's a golden opportunity for people at our level, like independents.
Definitely.
Because like we're going to be a little bit more nimble and smaller scale than the Hollywood guys. And, some of us are willing to take some risks. Sadly.
Right.
So I don't know. It might be a good time to reorganize the whole system.
Mm-hmm. It could be. You're right. You are very correct.
My second question was about genre. So like production design I imagine it's both most challenging, most difficult, and scariest if you're working in science fiction and or a period piece. So do you have like a particular area that you were like, I can't wait to get my teeth into that?
So oddly enough, my third show was called Bigger. It was with George was the director, and it was a piece set in 1919 through 1940. Excuse me, not 1949, 1919 up through the 80s. So it's very period specific. And that I thought I was the assistant props master on that. And I really thought that was going to be the biggest challenge ever. But I learned that doing some history research and finding the real pieces for that time just fell right into my lap. And it was really cool to be able to do that. So it was a big challenge, but it was also a big reward. Because I've actually seen that one a couple times now, and it looks phenomenal. Everything was just perfect. What I really like to work on, and it's a little bit selfish, but it's because it's easy. Just a regular this is who we are, normal, present day. I can go to Macy's and buy something and it just fits right in, that kind of thing. And again, that's because I'm selfish and it's just easy. I've not done a sci-fi yet. So I'm interested to try one and just kind of see how it goes.
So like something like a Star Trek or a Star Wars with like a completely invented like design landscape would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would. I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
All right. So I've got one more question for you. It is not cinema related. I am looking for the capital of Mongolia.
Oh, I have no idea.
I didn't even think.
Can I Google it?
I didn't have any idea until I looked it up. So that we're in the same boat. But I'm going to mispronounce this. It's apparently called Ulaanbaatar.
Okay.
So
I'm going to believe you on that one.
Yeah, you should. Well, cool. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer a few questions. And yeah, thanks for doing the production design on Garden of the Gods. And I guess we will see each other sometime in the near future.
Awesome.
Probably with masks on. I won't recognize you.
Oh, it'll be the eyes. You'll know them. It's okay.
All right. All right.
So I very much appreciate you guys trusting me with your sets and bringing me on board. It was a great adventure with everybody.
No worries. You did good.
Thank you.
Probably don't want to ever work in Cinder Block ever again.